Namaskaram. Welcome to Clyde Samvada brought to you by the Hindu Temple of Scotland. Today we have Yogini Nivetha with us, and today we are going to hear her experience of yoga, her spiritual journey, and also mountain climbing. Namaskar Nivetha, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show. So first of all, we would like to know about your perspective of what yoga is from your perspective, and then if you could just take us into your journey towards yoga and then mountaineering.
Okay. I'm sure everybody knows what yoga is. It comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means union of body, mind, and the spirit. Like Sage Patanjali wrote in his book 2500 years ago in Yoga Sutra, Yoga Chitta Vriddhi Nirodha, which means like refraining from fluctuations of the mind to progressively quiet the mind from a lot of fluctuations and to reach a state of pure consciousness. So that is yoga all about. It's mostly perceived as a workout, but basically yoga is a working and a way of life. And actually yoga has been there in India as part of a daily routine. Like for example, you see like we have malasan, like we have malasan posture, which is really good and beneficial for constipation. We have sukhasan where we eat like with folded legs when we have our meals. So that has been there. And we have Chakki Chalasana. So in villages back in India, we used to have this grinding thing, right? Like for wheat grinding, like handmade wheat grinding. That is very good. So back in the days, we used to have like yoga as part of a daily routine, because of which we have been like really strong, like, and we had like women were very strong. We didn't have any healthy lifestyle. Yeah. But I think now, because of the changes of lifestyle, way of life and everything, it's become really hard, and the need for classes are rising up. So I think yoga is a really good gift from India to the world, and it should be practiced in the long term to have its benefits.
Sure, it is. So when did you actually start practicing yoga?
So yoga, I was my place in Tamil Nadu, back in India. So it is in a hub of yoga centers. It's Pollachi, and it's Vedatri Maharishi. He's a big guru, and people from around the world, they used to come to learn. His thing is called as Knowledge of Wisdom. His center is called as Knowledge of Wisdom. So it is very popular, and I remember my father used to go there for all the classes to learn yoga. But yoga, I didn't take it seriously from then. I was brought in like seeing people doing yoga, but then like it came personally to me after I went for climbing. It was very beneficial for me, and so yoga became very important for my climbing is when I picked it up very seriously. Yeah.
So what inspired you to actually start climbing mountains? Because I have personally never met any climber. You were the first one I've ever met. So what actually inspired you to start climbing mountains?
So initially, like I come from a place where it's very famous for ocean, like from South Chennai. It's very tropical, and you're always attracted to the opposite. So when I moved to Pune, when I went for job, so mountain climbing is very famous over there. Trekking is very famous. Everybody is outdoors. So that's when I was so attracted to climbing, and I started my first trek, which itself is a very risky one, which is called Kalavantindur. It's also called as world's most dangerous fortress. It's a very steep climb up, and that was my first ever like hiking experience. I still remember like on top of the mountain how I was so emotional. I was happy. I felt like really like everything is like so beautiful, and the feeling of being on top of the mountain, on top of the world, actually it's really a nice feeling. So it's when like I picked it up, and I know like I wanted to do this, and I'm really passionate about it. So I started like going every week, and it's never stopping. That's how like mountaineering came into my life. And
so have you done any international climbs as well? So outside India, which mountains did you climb?
So I have climbed the highest mountain in Europe, which is Mount Elbrus, and I've climbed the highest mountain in South America, which is Mount Aconcagua, and yeah, Nepal.
Is Everest in your bucket list yet, or
It is.
it is?
It still is, yeah.
Should be, like, I believe every mountaineering person would be willing to do that. Okay, great, Nivetha. So would you like to tell us like a little bit about the relation between like how yoga and climbing, how they go hand in hand together, and did practicing yoga help you with your climbing?
So let's say in as you move up the higher altitude, right? Like when you go for high altitude climbing, let's say in land, it's only land is 100% oxygen. You have like good air capacity in the land, but as you climb up higher, the oxygen level decreases. So when you go on high altitude mountains, if in land it's only 100%, in high altitude it's only 30%, which is like one third of the volume.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah. So one third of the volume. So you have to have a good lung capacity. So for that, yoga helps a lot. Like you need to practice yoga. It's how you survive in high altitude mountains. Also the case being that in high altitude mountains, you tend to have altitude sickness, which is very serious and can be deadly, which is high altitude pulmonary edema and pulmonary edema. So it's very serious, and yoga helps to keep you acclimatized. And practices such as Kapalabhati and Nadi Shodhan, it helps to pump in more oxygen, which helps you in high altitude to beat the temperature, to keep yourself warm. So yoga really helps. And if you see a lot of climbs, like wherein people like climb high altitude mountains, like above 8,000 meters, highest mountains in the world without oxygen, they have done a lot of record in climbing. And people like sometimes the oxygen cylinders get emptied, and somehow they manage to like make it out like down. Like so, that's all because of practice of yoga, which helps in mountaineering a lot. Yeah.
So it's a very common practice in mountaineering people like to do yoga
Yeah.
and these kind of
And I
things.
think it's not just mountaineering. I think all sports like you're into, like you have to have that good lung capacity, and I think yoga plays a very major role.
Because I think recently I saw one of the podcast, and in that the person was saying that normal human lung capacity goes like till to 5 liters of oxygen, but people are only nowadays able to take up 2.5 and even less than that. So which is like half the capacity. Only normal days we are so stressed that we are even just breathing less, basically. So practicing yoga will be helping people a lot, I believe. So when we talk about like you went to, I believe, Rishikesh for your certification. How long did you stay in Rishikesh for to do the as a professional yoga teacher course?
So I did my basic and advanced certifications. So that was like about 2 months, and then like later I did traveling around Himalayas just doing yoga, and then later I did my internship in the same institution. So about like 4 months I was there.
So also we see, I met a lot of my friends are Buddhist, like so they also do meditation, and in Hindu culture, Sanatan culture, it has always been a part. Is there any difference in your experience that you have felt that they have a different approach to yoga, or is there a difference between the meditations techniques that they do?
Basically, like there's nothing difference. I mean, there's no difference in like yoga is different and religion is different. There's always a confusion.
Overlap is done generally because
Yeah.
people do associate things with such things. So is there overlap okay or not? Like
So I think yoga is different, and actually like religion is different, and spirituality is different. So spirituality, to attain that, like we use religion, is just a route, but it's not a thing, like it's not mandatory, and it's just that you need a way like to get into spirituality, and religion can be used. For example, me personally, like I have people in my classes like who would refuse to chant Om chanting, who are Christians. They are like Om is a Hindu thing and we don't want to say it. But Om chanting has got nothing to do with Hinduism or any religion, because Om itself is a primary sound. It is the fundamental note of cosmic vibration. It is the sound of the universe. So Om chanting, like let's see, like there's a lot of Om variation in different religions also. For example, in Hinduism we say Om, right? And then you see like in Christianity we say Amen, and in Muslim we say Amin, and Jewish they say Shalom. So there's different variations of Om in different religions. So it's not Om is not related to a religion. Like it's just a universal sound, and a lot of recent studies and research has found that Om chanting has a lot of benefits to the human mind. It refreshes and stabilizes the mind. It helps in improve. It helps to improve focus. It helps to improve concentration. Just leaving religions aside, if you chant Om, like whenever you're in depression, whenever you feel angry, like frustrated, when you have anxiety, you chant Om, and you'll personally feel it, like how your mind is so calm. It's very clear, and you're like very nicely settled in. So I think it's got to do more with spirituality than religion. So basically you have to like just see what works out for you if you want to pick up a religion. But honestly, religion and spirituality, yoga is like totally different. Yeah.
well, I agree with like most of the part. With the only thing is that why Om is like like Hindu or the Sanatan they claim it because see there a source needs to be there, right? So when we refer to our Puranas, Vedas and all that, so they're the oldest text available. In those it is mentioned, mostly you see Om is for the Lord Shiva because he is the one beyond time, he is the master of the time and all that. That's why it is related to that. If you just don't claim it, because as we believe that everyone born is Sanatani born only. Later you take up an identity on yourself. So it's like, maybe it is not just that there are two different paths, there's only one, just we have blamed them to be so many different ways. It is all one only, because as we are just one human species, Vasudev Kutumbakam, as it is said, that it's all one family and we are just part of the one family. And that's why some people see it as different things, some people see it as one, and some people don't see it at all. So that's a different perspective of people. So regarding your mountain climbing experience, if let's say someone who is young and watching our podcast and they think that maybe this is something I would like to do or something, is there a message for a young people you would like to give, that does mountain climbing change your life, like how you see life perspective as in?
I think it does a lot. It mostly has a positive impact on your mind. You get like mentally really strong. And I feel that nowadays, because there's a lot of lifestyle changes, we have like lots of genetically modified food. We have so much pressure on the kids to get into like big institutions. Like there's a lot of pressure now. So many things have changed because of this. I think like lots of people are going into depression, and we have a lot of people get into like earlier, like if someone is in depression, if someone has a mental disability, it is so clearly visible outside. But now it's not visible, it's just there, everybody is fighting a battle. And I think like even me personally, I've seen people like you don't see that they have a mental issue, like, but once you're like with them, like you tend to see the extremity of the situation, which is not clearly like outside it's visible. So I think yoga helps a lot to come out of it, and climbing makes you stronger when you collaborate it together, and it's a nice escape and you get a lot stronger. You also like become a lot healthier.
But because I did some treks, like like good ones I've done in my time, like as in few years back when I was in India. So I still have that feeling of like the success in me whenever I think of those moments. So I'm sure like conquering a mountain or a trek and these kind of things, everyone must do that, because like they are always like a gold medal in your life, that you look back and you feel like, oh, I achieved that. And obviously when you're top of the mountain, like most of the countries, on the top of the countries you are standing, because they're the highest places. So there must be like a maybe larger jolt of feeling, of the energy and all that. And I hope you have a lot of that, and we expect our listeners, if you would like to also experience this, then you can go for treks and mountaineering, obviously with the experts. Thank you, Nivetha. Thank you for joining us and giving us insight of yoga, spirituality, a little bit of religion touch, and a lot of mountaineering. And we expect you to be joining us soon, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Namaskaram.